Good morning. My name is Candace Casey, and the purpose of this video is to document what happened at my last visit in Modesto, California with my son, Nicholas Andrew Casey. On June 15th, I had a visit scheduled for 10 to 12. Now, it is true that I was a little more than probably 30 minutes late, or around 30 minutes late, and the reason for that is the social worker did tell me the address of where we're going. Well, actually, she told me we were meeting at 707 Emerald Avenue. And when I Googled the results on my navigator, she didn't inform me that there were two different 707 Emerald Avenues, North Emerald Avenue and South Emerald Avenue, and she didn't specify which one we were to meet at. So, I wasn't given the exact directions to where I was going. And I was not the one driving. I do not have a license. My mother-in-law, Linda Casey, was the one driving, and she didn't know how to get to where we were going. So I had to call my stepmother several times to try to get the exact directions of where we were going. And the first couple times we talked, I happened to be on the highway, and it was very difficult to hear what she was saying. And I know that this is going to be presented to make it look like I had no idea what I was doing. Mind you, I don't drive. Mind you, I had previously, yes, been to that part of Modesto, and I knew that it was near their house. I'm not familiar with the streets near their house. I had to, at one point, call my cousin Sarah to help me with directions. Sarah happens to live in Salida. So we finally did happen on the visit spot, and when we got there, my father was there as well as my stepmother, and Nicholas was in Ryan's car seat, the little girl's car seat, and I asked my father, what happened to Nicholas's car seat, and because JJ and I provided them with a car seat for our son when they first got custody of him, and he said that Nicholas's car seat was in the van. So Nicholas was in Ryan's car seat. I didn't think this was a big deal, but I just thought it was strange because we had provided them with a car seat it was a $150 car seat. And I thought it was strange that Nicholas wasn't in his own car seat. When we got there, I noticed that Nicholas had a scratch on his cheek and that he had a couple of scratches on his knees. I know little boys, they play and they jump up and down and everything, but it just seems very common that Nicholas has scratches or bruises of some kind. Prior to our most recent visit, the social worker filed some paperwork without informing us, claiming that after our visit, Nicholas had a bump on his head from falling down. We were not informed there was any bump on his head. I do know that during our visit on June 15th, there was one period that I was taking a quick breather, and my mother-in-law was playing with Nicholas, and I was watching Nicholas as closely as I could from my peripheral vision. I happened to catch Nicholas beginning to fall off of a piece of playground equipment, and I ran to him as soon as I could, but I wasn't able to get to him in time to stop his fall. I know the social worker is probably going to enter her own version of these facts into the court docket, but I am documenting just, so that it can be known that I did run to my son's aid, and, the social worker just, watched me while I ran to my son's aid. I was very concerned about my son's safety. I was very concerned about him falling from the playground equipment, and when I got to him, he was crying, of course, so I picked him up and I comforted him as any mother would. I know what actually happened that day, and I know who was watching my son, and I know who was not, and I know that I was a little upset because I thought with my mother-in-law being there that he wasn't going to fall. I understand kids still have accidents and you can't watch them every second, but I was watching him as closely as I could. I was running up and down the slides, playing with him, catching him as he came down the slides. I took him on one of the swings at one point. I did not take my daughter my 8-month-old daughter to this visit because every time I take my daughter to a visit, The social worker makes up all kinds of things about my daughter's development, about, how my daughter's doing. She files reports and she sends them to the the department here in Merced. Merced County has come out on numerous occasions. They have observed me with my daughter. They have seen my home environment, and they still have not found a good reason to take her, and therefore have not taken her. They have only been by to check on her welfare, to check our living situation, to see if we had food, to see if we had the means of taking care of our daughter. And apparently they've been satisfied that we're doing a well enough job. Yet Mariposa County still is claiming all these things about our daughter, and I therefore, am really reluctant to bring my daughter to visit. On the one hand, I want my daughter and my son to spend time together. On the other, I do not want them to feel that they have ammunition to use against me in order to justify the removal of my next child who is happy, healthy, and thriving. And, I don't see Nicholas every day, so I don't know what he's like when I'm not there. But I do know that when I go around my son, what I see is not a child that appears to be happy, healthy, and thriving. I see a child who, he's confused, he's lonely, and I just, I know that my son would be better off with his parents where he belongs. The court can say all kinds of things about our home environment, but since they've never actually been to our home environment, this is nothing more than speculation. It has nothing to do with facts. It has everything to do with we don't like this couple. We don't want this couple to have their child. It's personal. It's not business. And, for Anita Petrick, the patient's rights advocate, I know you at one time worked for Mariposa County Child Welfare, and I know that you're claiming that to them it's business, it's not personal. But I know for a fact that with the head of the department / court officer, now I don't understand how she's the head of CPS and the court officer. If you ask me, that's a very strange combination. Susan Arlington began to take a stance against returning our son home when my husband offended her at a visit by calling her a name. Now, I don't condone my husband's behavior. I don't think that he was right to talk to her the way he did, not because she's a social worker, not because she's the head of the department, but because she's a human being, and it was just not an appropriate way to talk to her. But what I do agree with my husband is that, they had no proof that Nicholas was in any imminent danger. And in the state of California, the only way emergency removal of a child is validated is if there is some proof of imminent danger. And I'm sorry, but they did not prove that in court, regardless of whether or not they got Judge Wayne Parrish to sign their so-called emergency order. And to Judge Parrish, I would say I've heard a lot about you from others in the community. I don't know you personally. To me, everyone says that you're a godly man. And if this is true, then I pray and I fear for your soul, because you don't know that you make decisions every day that affect the outcome of other people's lives. You don't realize the impact those decisions you make on the people that are involved in these cases. Now, other people have told me that you appear too lenient. That is not what I have seen. What I have seen is, for the most part, yeah, you do seem fair, but there are times when it appears that you don't allow the parents their say in court, that you don't allow, any explanation of what's going on. As for the recent orders regarding drug testing, it was my understanding that drug testing was part and parcel of reunification services. Those services have been consistently denied us from the very beginning of our case. My husband and I have a different stance on the drug testing issue, and his stance is that why should he do anything for the department when they have already decided that terminating his rights, terminating my rights, are in our child's best interest. My stance